All right, guys. So first off and foremost, this is a client on a dedicated server. You'll notice that the physics is properly replicated now. So I'm using the new resimulate model that was introduced in 5.5, I believe. They briefly discussed that in relation to Fortnite, so I think Fortnite uses it. So you'll see that everything is being replicated. Now, if I have to put an item away, then it'll run a second line trace right before we equip the item that we're trying to pick up, just to make sure that we're still within range. If we're outside of the range because we kept moving, then it will not pick it up. If we come back, we can still pick it up. So if we pick up a holster, it'll drop the other holster alongside any item that was inside of it, but we can still pick it back up afterwards. So if I say drop that one and I come over here and I pick up this rifle, I can put this rifle away and I can come over here and I can pick up that other one. And now that rifle is in that holster. So I'll go ahead and do 2 clients just so that you can see it works with 2 clients. There are some issues with this second client window. For some reason, sometimes it freezes up and it stops updating. But yeah, so I can drop an item. You'll see it's properly replicated, looks fairly smooth. And this guy right here, he can pick it up because the other one no longer owns it. But I can't pick up an item that's on him. It won't let me. If it's attached to him, or if he's holding it, the other guy, he can't pick it up. See? It's just not going to let you. So anyway, it's all replicated. Now, let me just switch back to one client because it runs smoother that way and you can see it better in the video. So right now, the traversal system, I have to add a 2-second delay before re-equipping the item automatically. But if you want and you pull up, you can go ahead and press the key to pull it out immediately. Now, it will be immediate later, and I'll explain to you why I have a 2-second delay currently, but that will be removed later. And the reason why is because we have this re-equip animation, and when we go to do a traversal, it's going to stop any montage that's playing. And if that happens, then it'll lock us out of our slot manager. Now I have added a safety net for us. So after 2 seconds, I think 2.5 seconds, if the is busy has not been reset to false, then it'll automatically reset itself to false. So that'll prevent us from ever being completely locked out. But basically, like I said, if the equip animation after the traversal gets interrupted, then it will cause that, which is why I added a 2-second delay. So as soon as I add animation canceling to the slot manager system, which will be in the next update, hopefully, then I'll be able to make that immediate. So as far as the items go now, if you look at the items, you'll see that these are the root components. That's necessary for a number of reasons. If we simulate physics on the item, when we go to pick up the item, we want it to be where it was, where it actually is in the world, not somewhere else, because we simulated physics on a child and not the root. So simulating physics on anything but the root, it's really not a good idea. It causes all kinds of issues. And I was kind of hacking my way around it before. The problem is is if we add a, like say a box collision to as the root. The thing is, as you can see here, the root of these components are not actually the center as it would be on a box collider, which is why it's better to do it this way. Because in reality, the box collider would be only covering this much of the item, and the other 75% or 90% of the item would be hanging outside of the collision, and it would be sticking through walls or through the floor during physics. Same with the pistols and the rifle. The pistol would only barely be sticking out, but the rifle would be sticking out a lot. This whole piece of the barrel right here would be sticking out. So that's the reason why I moved over to this method. Now, why is the holsters origin way over here? Well, because I placed the origin at where the origin of the item that goes inside of it will be. So if I copy this and I duplicate this and I paste that location, you'll see it puts it exactly where it needs to be inside of that holster. And that just simplifies things in a number of areas, which is why I did it that way. Changing that on an item is easy. Also, if you need to offset these pickup detection spheres, you can. That's pretty easy. By default, I haven't done that, so there may be a little bit of an offset, but it's not much, and it shouldn't cause any problems. But before I update this, I'll probably go in there and offset it for those two. In fact, I can do it during this video just to show you. But what is this pickup detection? So that's the thing I'm actually doing the trace against. I added an object type pickup channel. So if you go to Edit, Project Settings, as long as you didn't override the config files, and this is why I tell people don't override those, because we have this pickup channel in here and we have this items channel. Now the items channel allows me to make sure that everything else can block the items, but the items won't block each other. So whenever a pistol is in a pistol holster, it'll ignore the item channel rather than blocking or overlapping it. The pickup is only for this pickup sphere, and you don't need the sphere to tick. So I have the tick wherever it is inside of here. There's a component tick in here somewhere. I have that disabled so it doesn't tick. And I have it ignoring all these channels. Well, I thought I did. So let me just go to the slot master here. And I can set that so it ignores the items channel. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's going to ignore all the channels. We only need it to be of an object type pickup, because when we do our trace on our character, we're going to do it on pickup types, on pickup object types. And you can add actors to ignore, but by default, anything attached to the character currently will be ignored. The reason why I did this is because when we go to pick up an item, if we have an item in our hand and we need to drop it because we don't have a holster to put it in, then the actual equip, like I said, the equip, whenever we go to equip it, we run this trace a second time just to make sure we're within range. If this runs and we're not ignoring the actor that we just dropped, then it'll actually try to pick up that actor. So instead of the one we're actually trying to pick up, it'll try to pick up the one we just dropped, which is why I did that. Right here, we're just making sure this item isn't attached to anything. If it's attached to a holster or a character, then it will simply not do anything. It'll never pick it up or fire the pickup logic at all. So that's how that's handled. The gun logic has been moved into a gun component because for the guns we need a skeletal. We might need a skeletal mesh, or we might need a static mesh. So I have these templates where we already have a skeletal mesh version and we have a static mesh version. So you'll see we have a static mesh held object gun and skeletal mesh held object gun. And then those are children of these SK held object masters and SM held object masters. If it's not a gun, it can just be a direct child of one of these. The logic inside of here is not duplicated between them, which is why I made those actor components, so that I wouldn't have to have duplicate gun logic in both. Now, something you need to know is that unfortunately choosers currently, because they're still new, and maybe they'll add this, I don't know, maybe they'll never support it, but you cannot assign choosers from a variable during runtime. And so they have to be set up pre-runtime. So unfortunately, I can't implement that into our actor component. Because of that, we have to have that handled by the actual actor. So if we go back to the parent and we go to this interface, you'll see we have this get item char data. This is the same interface that we were using before, the BPI items. I stripped all that other stuff off of it because we don't need it anymore. What I'm actually doing is I'm actually just having the slot manager call those functions directly on the actor component. But for the item char data, we have to call that on the item. So if we go to this blueprint interface function, you'll see this is the same logic as before, except I actually have it on the master now rather than the gun version. So that means any item can just override this right here. So you say override this from child. This is the one you're supposed to override. So you go to this override and you look for that function in the override. If it's already been overridden or implemented, it won't show up in this list. Only things from the parent that are parent functions will show up in this. So on the master, you'll see it'll just print this if it hasn't been overridden. If it has been overridden, then it'll just return this from the chooser. So that allows us to not have to duplicate that underlying logic. Instead, we can just override one function and just drop our chooser into it. Now, under the actor component, this is where our item ID is going to go now. So our item ID needs to be under the item info and our actor component. That's how I identify it. You can replace that if you want the item ID to be grabbed from somewhere else. If you go to the character, you'll see I have a macro where under DAO item, get item ID, the logic pertaining to obtaining the item ID is in this macro so that you can replace it from one location. Now the slot manager also has a macro like this that you can do the same in. Neither the slot master nor the character will cast directly to an actor component type. I mean an actor type. Instead, it'll just see if it has the actor component, and it'll get that instead. So that might add a little bit of latency, but it adds a lot of flexibility for a system where I can't determine how you guys are going to need things to be done. So it should add more flexibility on your end But get component by class, it's not that heavy, especially if you don't have very many components in your item actor. As you know, we don't have that many. Even in the gun, we have one extra in the guns on the guns, but it's still not many. And you could actually just take away this contextual item scene actor. I'm not actually using it right now. The contextual example that I had set up, it's currently not even hooked up. You'll see this is the function for calling that version. I actually have not tested this since I refactored things, so hopefully it didn't break anything. But I did refactor this right here, and it's actually just looking to see if it has a contextual item scene actor component, and it's caching that. So it should still work as long as that component exists on your actor. So anyway, that kind of like makes things less reliant on specific class types, which I think a lot of people will appreciate. And it should make it easier for you guys to like implement this logic or stack this logic on top of other systems that you're using, if that's what you choose to do. Also, having this gun logic as a separate component from this allows you to just easily discard this actor AC gun component and replace it with your own logic. So the item data is no longer needed. We're not using that because we're setting the skeletons or the static meshes ourselves. If you look on the AC held object master though, you'll see by default, it'll automatically set up replication for you on this actor. And it'll set it up as resimulation. The physics disable delay is 15 seconds. You can shorten that if you feel like that's too much. It might actually be a little too much, but if something's under a category called private, it means that it's not really important for you and that you shouldn't worry about it. Basically, it's stuff that I can't actually make private because other things may need to access these. But at the same time, I don't actually want it like confusing you and taking up a lot of space in here, which is why I put them under private categories. So that's basically all that. Actually, it looks like I didn't put this under a category. Let me actually do that. I'll put it under handling. This is mostly for the aim logic. That's what I have that for. It's kind of like a failsafe. Actually, I guess I could go ahead and go over it with you. So get item aim location, that's where that's being used at. And that's actually, I believe I'm calling that from the character. So if we go to the event graph, actually the distance-based function on the event graph, then right here, this is where I'm using that at. It probably would be more performant to actually grab that item location via a blueprint interface rather than the way I'm handling it right here by getting it from the actor component. But again, I have to try to make this system as flexible as possible. I can't predict like I said before, I can't predict people's individual use cases or needs. So right now the distance space aim offset is still not replicated. I have not looked into this, but I believe it's how I'm getting the player camera manager. Yeah, this will not include remote clients with no player controller. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking it's a replication issue in regards to getting the player camera manager. So I may look into that at a later date, but basically this right here will fail on dedicated servers. I know on dedicated servers it'll fail. I haven't tested it on a listen server. Yeah, so I think that's basically it. The way everything else is handled, it's still the same. I do believe I removed all that. I'm going to move this into this folder here. I feel like this should be in a slot actors folder. Yeah, so this is, I'm probably going to move this out of this actors component folder, and then I'm going to put this in that folder. But yeah, okay guys, that's basically it. That's the rundown, and I hope I covered everything. I'll see you in the next video.